What's going on? This is Dwayne here with I Feel You, the podcast with Shady Radical. She is the founder of the Radical Archive of Preservation, which is T.R.A.P. She's also earned a PhD in Moving Image Studies in the Moving Image Studies program at Georgia State University, an MA in Curatorial Studies at New York University, a BA in Art History at the College of St. Elizabeth, and an AA in Fashion Studies at Berkeley College. She currently teaches at Spelman College in the Art and Visual Culture department. She teaches art classes in art history and writing and criticism. And she has also been published in several publications nationwide, and she's doing a lot of great things. And she also works, hold on, with Ballethnic. I read that the ballet. She leads the preservation project at Ballethnic Dance Company in East Point, Georgia. I introduced to everyone. We have Shady Radical. Also, I would like to say this is season one, and season one is dedicated in memory of my friend Corey Morris. So I just like to say that at first. And peace to Corey. And now on to you, Shady. If you can hear more about you, and if you can give your story as how to you got involved in archiving and preservation, and just let us know uh, everything that's going on with that, because I find that a very interesting topic.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to share with you all today and learn a little bit more about your podcast. I am in Rome, Italy. We are slightly on a workcation, me and my
Got you.
daughter. My 4-year-old, she's sitting right next to me watching Netflix.
Okay.
Um, yes, I'm a single mom.
Uh-huh.
I am an entrepreneur. I'm a professor, and I am an archivist. And
Right.
the my route into archiving has been a windy road,
Okay.
like I know many of us.
Yes.
But it started when I was a costumer at Tyler Perry Studios.
Okay.
As a costumer at Tyler Perry Studios, my main objective, my main mission was to organize the clothes based on the episodes or the movies. I worked there off and on for quite a while. My very first project was for Colored Girls, where I
Okay.
was an
Wow.
intern in the costume department. That was about 2010. Don't try to date me, but try to date me. I'm also a single mom.
Right.
you know. But I started out as a intern, and once I finished that project, it was like the summer before my master's program, and I decided that I wanted to like still pursue the masters. And then when I got done, I jumped right back into film and TV, and I moved down to Atlanta from New Jersey. And as a costumer, a lot of people that get into that work are interested in fashion. So it
Right.
really made a kind of vacancy in like organizing clothes. Many people are not necessarily interested in the organization and preservation of the clothes, and that's
Right.
my spot. So at Tyler Perry Studios, it was a huge project because not only was he doing film, TV, but he's also doing theater. And they're all running simultaneously, right,
Right.
concurrently, which is the fascinating thing about Tyler Perry Studios. He is directing everything, and he's working on multiple projects at a time. So
Wow.
as a continuity manager, you are really responsible for informing the costume designer of where we're at in the script, right? If the costume designer is also designing 2 shows and you are working on one show, you are literally in charge of like what happens when, where, what scene they're going into, what scene they're coming from. So at the beginning
Right.
of the day, I would have my notebook and I would walk around with the designer and say like, okay, James is walking into a coffee shop. It was raining outside. He was coming from his girlfriend's house. They got into an argument, and give her kind of like the context of what he's
Right.
going to wear for that scene. And she or he would then design from kind of what I'm telling them. Not that they haven't done that prior, but because Tyler Perry Studios moves so fast, it it often requires you to like refresh their memory and move quickly in that way.
Right.
So spending so much time there, I kind of decided that we needed a better system to access information and records from the past, because what we were
Gotcha.
doing up until that point was very much like, oh, what was worn last season, let's find a recording of it, and then find like the costume. It was very kind of in a state where it was hard to access the information. So
Right.
I proposed that we create an archival system that would allow them to very easily access the information again.
Gotcha. 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 Gotcha.
Actually spoke to Mr. Perry about this a number of times, proposing the establishment of a preservation system in the warehouse. And he was like, he loves it. He's a preservationist. He saves everything.
Right.
So he gave me the go ahead to do it. So I spent quite a bit of time just establishing an archive for the
Mm-hmm.
studio. But this was before I even really finished my PhD program. And when I finished, I was quickly hired by Spelman College to teach. And then I was also offered a fellowship through Dance USA,
Mm-hmm.
to help establish the archive at Ballethnic Dance Company. Ballethnic Dance Company is a Black ballet company, co-founded by the first Black female ballerina, Miss Nina
Oh wow.
Gilreath. She's the first Black woman to co-found a Black ballet company,
Okay.
and they've been around for 33 years. It's a mom and pop. And that's where I spent the last year, so between teaching and
Mm-hmm.
working on their archive. So it was quite a, roundabout way, but I now feel like I am for real walking in my purpose. Like it feels good.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Now, when you were speaking of, I guess, the archiving process for Tyler Perry, in Tyler Perry Studios, as far as what is the archiving process? Like Medea's costume, like what would that entail if it was like something from one of Medea's movies or whatever? Like,
Yeah. So that process for me was because there wasn't an established system to
mm-hmm,
retrieve the costumes. Like, if you can imagine a huge warehouse and then
mm-hmm,
boxes on bays, stacked in the warehouse with no
right,
real system of like really which shows are which or which movies are which, kind of just like, oh yeah, I think, Meet the Browns is down that aisle. I think,
right,
some that's kind of what it was for me. So first thing I had to do was locate everything, and I created
mm-hmm,
just a spreadsheet on Excel. I labeled all of the boxes, giving them a unique ID number, and then opened up the boxes and figured out what was inside, and then cataloged each item of what was inside the box.
okay,
Sometimes it was hard to identify which show it belonged to. Sometimes it was just the box would just have Mr. Brown on it, but it wouldn't
right,
have the show. It would have the season. It would have the years. It was like Mr. Brown. So also just trying to match up, like when did Mr. Brown wear this? It took a lot of time,
right,
And so same thing for Medea's fat suits. I opened up the box and was like, oh, this is Medea in here.
right,
But it wouldn't again say which year or anything.
mm-hmm,
So trying to match those up. So it was a combination of finding, labeling, cataloging, and then relocating things in a systematic order, and
mm-hmm.
creating kind of labels for.
I also see that you are the founder of the Radical Archive of Preservation. Now, if you could, and which is trap. So if you could go more into depth about trap and what you do there and how you
Yeah,
serve the community with that organization.
absolutely. So trap, because we in Atlanta, well, we in
Right.
Rome, but we wouldn't be in Rome if we wasn't in Atlanta. No,
Gotcha.
I really sincerely believe that trap would not have existed without coming through Atlanta,
Gotcha.
because of all of the alternative routes to liberation people take and create. In Atlanta, it's extremely inspiring to me. And as a radical, I follow the Black radical tradition. I believe that we never have not resisted against oppression and different forms of, injustice.
Right.
So that the idea of Atlanta being this kind of cultural foundation for trap is really, really important. So I just want to say that. But TRAP, the Radical Archive of Preservation, is about providing these kind of legacy and preservation systems for the community at large. A lot of Black culture is intangible, right? A lot of the
Right.
knowledge that we have is embodied. So we don't create in comparison to other cultures, we don't create as much tangible material, which means that we get left out of the archive a lot, which means that we get left out of history a lot, which means that
Right.
researchers don't necessarily have the same processes to do the same research on Black cultural communities.
Gotcha.
So, what we try to do at TRAP is try to figure out how to make that knowledge and culture legible
Hmm.
for archives to be able to preserve it and to better support Black memory workers and Black communities. So, on one hand, that looks like establishing an archive, like I did for Tyler Perry Studios and Ballethnic.
Hmm.
On the other hand, that also looks like documentary processes, like doing oral histories, capturing through
Okay.
photographies, also doing like presentations. I've created many presentations based on the material found in the collection of Ballethnic to reproduce that material and kind of give these kind of prompts to the founders so that that can help tell their story, right? Because
Right.
if we think about our life, it's just like a big glob, right? Maybe there's
Right.
some
Right.
highlights, but it's not until someone says, "Oh, what is this picture? When did this happen?" Or, and then organize it in a way that really tells a compelling story. And that's what I help them do. Like I help tell compelling stories. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is the educational
Hmm.
portion, where we uplift and advocate for Black memory workers.
Okay.
So we have a series, and that's the one I shared with you at the
Right.
festival,
Festival. Hmm.
called Rooted in Memory. Here's a little flyer. There's a little flyer, Rooted in Memory. So this workshop has identified us 8 different memory workers who do this kind of different kind of memory work in the Black community, and we help share their processes and their practices. So you
Okay.
have like the last workshop was facilitated by Sierra King, who's a local ATLian. She did a workshop on personal archiving. She shared some tools. She shared a couple of practices she uses, from everything from Airtable to journaling to the way that she identifies and contextualizes photographs. So that's a part of it. And then you have even workshops like the embodied memory mapping workshop with Dr. Julie Johnson, the dance and choreography chair at Spelman College, where she teaches you how we how memories live in our body and how to retrieve them from our body. So she'll give you
Okay.
different prompts and say like, okay, what part of your body do you feel that in? Okay, that's where the memory lives, right?
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
All different ranges of different ways to get at memory making and memory
Right.
creating, memory, accessing memory, sharing memory, that I think is really, really important to how history is told.
Right. So a memory. You said a memory worker.
Yes, a
Yeah.
black
So
memory. Hmm.
So, what if you could, I guess, define that a little bit more for those people that might not know exactly what a
Yeah.
memory worker is?
Yeah, so a memory worker is first of all, we're all memory keepers, right? We're all
Gotcha.
memory
Okay.
makers. But a
Right.
memory worker is one that tries to help facilitate your memories in your body, you connecting with your memories in your body.
Hmm.
So they have different practices, different strategies. Some people may use more work that processes that act on the body. So like the
Hmm.
memory mapping. Other people might use like photography. It's a memory worker.
Hmm.
An archivist, somebody that works in a library, is a memory worker. But what separates like those kind of like professional identities from what we call memory worker working is that maybe those people don't have the same educational background. Maybe those
Right.
people haven't been to library school. Maybe those people have different skill sets that in order to get at their memory making practices. Um, so again, back to what a memory worker does, thinking about how the memories are held in our body in comparison to like the written document, the
Right.
journal, the photographs, the correspondences, all of the ephemera that you go to in archives. Say you go to Emory University or Auburn Avenue,
Right.
library archives, or Spelman College archives, you'll find a lot of stuff, right?
Right.
But because Black people a lot of times keep the memory and the knowledge in their body, we don't have
Hmm.
the stuff. So the memory worker is the one that pulls the stuff out of your body.
Right. Okay then. Okay then. So it's extracting the memories, and these are memories that are, I guess, passed down ancestrally or whatever from our ancestors that we are somehow generation after generation we're holding that in.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. All right.
absolutely. But there's like, I did this project one time, this memory project, and then I asked people to find something that was either given to them or that they never returned,
Right.
like heirloom, right? And people
Hmm.
always say, like, I don't have any heirlooms. Well, we don't pass down heirlooms today. But after thinking about it for a little bit, people have come up with like maybe it was a headband or a scarf or a
Hmm.
recipe that someone
Right.
wrote down for them. Or my brother had a tie that his grandfather gave him during his aunt's funeral, because
Hmm.
he didn't have a tie, right? And now
Hmm.
that's like keeping memories. So like I asked him to like present that and like tell me about it. And then I found out all this stuff. Like he could smell his grandfather's cologne as he was putting on that tie. And his grandfather was saying like there's going to be days like this where you have to be strong. And that by
Right.
this time, his grandfather had passed. So like all
Right.
of these things that was coming up, he was like, I haven't thought about that like ever.
Right.
Like
And
all of
and
that stuff.
yeah, you got me. To be honest with you, I'm tearing up over here because I'm sort of kind of like a, I don't know if it's a hoarder, but I got like my mom passed away, my uncle passed away, grandparents and stuff like that, and relatives, cousins and stuff, and I have a little bit of everything, and it's like I want to keep it. I don't know what it is. It's you can't get rid of it. I got old photos and I take pictures, and I just want to keep all this stuff because I know. Uh, that it needs to be passed down so future generations can see that. And I guess
Yeah.
that's going to lead me to my next question. How can we, like me, like I just said, how can I possibly, if for our families or whatever, how can you start your own personal archive of stuff for your family if you want to keep it to hold
Yes.
on to it for future generations?
Yes. So that's the thing, right? We all have
Hmm.
this stuff, but how do we create systems of access to it, right?
Right.
Whether
Hmm.
that's using a spreadsheet or something like Airtable or something like Archive It, what kind of data asset management can we use? Or who can we contact that can help us with this?
Hmm.
And that's me.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. 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 Okay.
So you reach out to me, and
Right.
either where someone like myself or someone else, like all of these people that I bring together, some of them actually
Hmm.
do the work as well. And I would
Right.
connect you with those people, pair you up together, and then you start the work. But it all starts with a consultation. So if you
Hmm.
go to theradicalArchive.com to my
Hmm.
website, that's where you can find out more information about what we do at T.R.A.P. And then you can email me and say like, hey, I would like a consultation. I have my grandmother's stuff, or I have a
Right.
collection of my own and I don't really know how to organize it. And we go from there.
Okay. Now, could this stuff be potentially used to be placed in exhibits in different, I guess, galleries or displays, like in the South or whatever? If you're trying to
Exactly.
show a display of life in a small town, could it like go to the Georgia archives to show how life was in Cartersville or whatever, where I'm from?
Yep. So that's one
Okay,
of the
gotcha.
questions that we ask, like, what is
Hmm.
the ultimate goal, right? Like, what do
Right.
you want to see happen with
Hmm.
this collection? Do you just want to organize it and have it accessible for your own personal use and your descendants' use, your family's use,
Right.
or do you want to see it be displayed in museums and exhibitions? Do you want it preserved? The one huge question is like, can you take care of it, right? Like,
Right.
would you be
Hmm.
able to maintain this? And so when we get to questions like that, and if the answer is no, that's when the goal is to find a place that could preserve it, whether that is a place in Georgia, or that's a place outside, wherever is the perfect place for you. And that's where
Hmm.
the research happens, because what I do in that process is I kind of research all of the different archives that would be um, good places for your collection to go based on what they have already or what they could do. And then I narrow it down to about 3 to 5 places and say, like, so these are places that would complement your collection, and not
Hmm.
only complement your collection because we want it to be preserved, but we also want it to be seen, right? We also want it to be, and I
Hmm.
already have created an inventory of everything that you have. And that's what I mean by like making it legible to these
Gotcha.
different collectors. I make it legible and say like, okay, this is this collection and this is how it would be meaningful or useful to you based on what you have. I make those relationships between the collection that I'm presenting and what they already have in their archive. And then
Gotcha.
that archive would, I mean, usually say like, yes, I want it, thank you, and
Right.
we go there.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right, now are there? And this question just popped in my head. Are there instances where you could possibly, like, how does it go? Do you like sign it away for a certain amount of time? Hey, you can hold this for 5 years, and then we want it back, or you can hold it indefinitely, or whatever. Or
So there's two parts of
mhm.
that. So usually when archives accept something, they're not giving it back.
Okay,
That's a part of their collection.
gotcha. Okay.
However, there are some archives that have a community-based initiative that
Hmm.
will scan items and return them.
Okay.
So there's two different ways, and that's kind of a new thing. That's a new thing that has come along, and not all places do that. It really
Okay.
depends. But that if that is something that you would be interested in, that is something that I would, make sure, okay, narrow it down to repositories that only, that will allow you to retrieve your collection.
Okay. Now,
There's also like
mhm.
digital archives, right? There's also
Right.
like
Okay.
different ways to preserve it for yourself if you can do the work and you have the resources.
Okay. Now, say if someone wants to, they say they want to sell the archive. Can you sell the archive to sell the material to a gallery or to a archive or whatever?
Yes, you
Okay.
can. There's some repositories that have what you call an acquisition budget. So that is
Gotcha.
what they do. They're actively collecting. So they're
Hmm.
looking for collections that work well in their that will work well in their archive. Not everywhere has an acquisition budget, and usually like it's hard to find like Black archives or African American collections that have acquisition budgets, right?
Okay.
So if you're more interested in it going to like Auburn Avenue, let's just say, because that is a very highly recognized collection, or like Atlanta University Center, they have, Dr. King's papers. Like you want your work to be sitting next to theirs if you're a writer or you're a
Right.
pastor. Like
Right.
I want you at least if they're researching Dr. King and they come across my work, it's right there.
Right. Right.
So that would be a great asset to that archive. But if you're more interested in like, okay, I need a little bit of, I would like to receive a little bit of money compensation for this collection, and you would have to go in a different direction. You
Okay.
would have to
Gotcha.
go with a bigger institution that has more money, that is actively collecting, that
Hmm.
may not have as cool of a collection.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I get it. All right. Now, I also see that you serve as the assistant chair for the Society of Georgia Archivists Education Committee. So, exactly what is the Society of Georgia Archivists?
Yes. So that actually, I am now the chair
Oh, you're
of
the chair. Okay. All right.
chair.
Well,
It rolls
congratulations.
over.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It rolls over. You're assistant chair for 1 year, and then you're the chair for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Um, The Society of Georgia Archivists is a historical society that promotes and supports archivists, local archivists in the community. So they
Hmm.
have a conference once a year, and then they also offer educational workshops once a year. I'm
Hmm.
sorry, twice a year.
Okay.
So this is all kind of to support the work that archivists do. Once you're out of library school, once you're out of studying archives, it can be really hard to keep up to date on new and upcoming best practices. And this is
Hmm.
a professional community that helps you do that.
Okay, then. All right. Now, I was perusing your website or whatever, and I saw that you have. If you can go more into your performances, like you have performances that you've
Yes.
conducted. I think there was a musical performance with was it Mo? I don't want to mess up the name or whatever.
I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but the performances are the like most exciting part of the work. I also
Right.
think of it as my archival practice.
Hmm.
Um, it's a different way to enter and access the archive, right? It's
Right.
like, um, for example, I did this project called Witness Pearl, based on the
Hmm.
journals and the work of Pearl Clegg. Pearl Clegg is a writer and novelist and playwright in Atlanta. She's actually in residency at the Alliance Theater right now.
Okay.
But
Oh
back
wow.
when she was about 25 years old, she was the speechwriter for Maynard Jackson.
Oh, what? I didn't know that. Wow. Okay.
She is bad.
Right.
I'm not bad. Okay, not you. I was talking about Pearl. That's my daughter. But she has her journals at Emory University in the
Hmm.
Rose Library Archive. And I spent some time there researching her work. And I had a grant offered to me by Seven Stages Theater for
Hmm.
this Curious Futures project they do once a year. And so they are really interested in reactivating spaces that are rarely used in productions at the theater. So what
Gotcha.
I proposed was to reimagine the moments before these plays that Pearl Clegg wrote and produced by herself in
Hmm.
the dressing room at Seven Stages. So I produced these two pieces where it's like the moments before she's getting ready, she's getting undressed, she's talking on the phone to her daughter, she's rolling a little joint, but all of
Right.
the information that I got, that I produced, that I put together, was from her journals and the books that she wrote. So I
Oh
just
wow.
reimagined what would have happened, what would have been happening happening at that time, what music she would have been listening to, what she would have been reading. All of this I collected from various different writing she had made available through her archive and through her published works, and then invited people into the dressing room and they watched this live as if I was Pearl. Um, so that was a lot of fun. I mean, it's also vulnerable. I get very vulnerable because I get undressed and like you see my body, but also I wrote all of the texts that I
Hmm.
found on my body. So you're also like reading my body, like a book, while
Right,
I'm getting ready. And then also the costumes, right? I found what she wore in each of those productions, and then found through thrift stores a similar costume. So that's what I
right.
would change into. So it's again like, oh wow, you didn't know all of this stuff about Pearl, but now I just made it available to you. It's a different way to access the archive.
Now, how do you come up with your ideas? Because that right there is very creative and just out of the box. So, well, how do you formulate these ideas? How do they come to you?
Usually it starts with a grant.
Okay, I got you.
Somebody will come to me and say, "Hey, Shady, we want you to do something, right?
Hmm.
This is the
Hmm.
budget. This is one piece of the idea." And that sends me into just like any other artist, right? That's like, oh, you get these really big ideas, and then like you
Right,
got how do you pack them in?
right, right, right,
And it's the same thing. Like I love exploring what my body knows in that way, right? I'm
right,
not trained. I wouldn't say I'm a trained performer. uh, I'm an archivist, right? So I
right.
think about how we collect information, how we distribute information, how we share information. And I'm also a teacher. So, like, how can I
Hmm.
teach you? How can I leave you with something that you didn't know that may be meaningful to you? um yeah, that's why the performances are like the more rare things I get to do. I've done a couple, maybe 5 or 6 performances now.
Hmm.
They're the most fun, but they're not as I don't get those phone calls as much as I get the "Can you organize my collection" phone calls.
Right. Got you. Got you. Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Like, as far as like T.R.A.P, your organization, and do you still plan on teaching or and that type of thing?
Yeah. So right now, as I said, I'm in Rome and we are
Hmm.
headed to Tanzania. Tanzania, I work with a company called Bwagamoyo Africulture and
Hmm.
on the coast of Tanzania. And I'm also their archivist. I've been working with them for quite a while. Um,
Okay.
Archiving looks a little bit different there. I usually do a lot of consulting and trying to help them figure out how to preserve their work digitally.
Got you.
Um, this summer, we're also producing a summer arts festival where we'll offer 3 days of performance art workshops and 2 days of memory work and archiving workshops. So I'm going there to produce that. And then
Right.
I really see this kind of flow. Like I will spend, 6 months in the States working with a company, 6 months, maybe somewhere overseas. I also just did a very, very short residency at Zanelli Muhali's Art Institute.
Oh
It
wow.
was impromptu. That's in Cape Town, South Africa. And I learned all about the work that she does, how she is a LGBTQ visual activist. And I
Hmm.
mean, it's just incredible, incredible archive, an incredible, incredible archive. I see myself working with her again in the future, along with the other artists there, like Rendeka Kampi, who's a renowned South African photographer.
Okay.
Um, I still want to teach a little bit. I like being connected to the institutions because it does give me access to, everything outside of open access publications. Like
Right.
I
Right.
scholars, so I still need to do my research. And when you outside the institution, they make you feel it.
Right.
Um, Not only do I enjoy teaching, and especially at a place like Spelman College, I enjoy being with students. You know, I really
Right.
enjoy like being able to give back. But also, like I would love to be able to spend time in a very large institutional repository. I have not done that. I am a certified archivist, which means that through the Academy of Certified Archivists, I tested. You know, you have to do this long exam based on archival theory and practice, and I
Okay.
scored high enough to pass, so I became a certified archivist. That's the CA in my name. I
Hmm.
studied archives, you know, throughout my PhD. And now currently I'm in a MLIS program at the University of Alabama.
Okay.
So by next year, I will also have an MLIS behind my name.
Now, what does MLIS stand for?
That's a master's in library and information systems.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what librarians, that's the degree
That's
that
what they.
librarians have or archivists
Mhm.
have. Um,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
so
Gotcha.
just to have that also that kind of training in my wheelhouse as I continue to work with large institutions. Um, you know, it's better to know what they know in order to be able to serve the community.
Right. 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 So it seems like you're getting called on internationally, and just everyone knows your name. How did you get? How did your name get out there? What? Yeah. If you could explain how your name is getting out there, what are you doing, and it must be your work. It has to be your work, and how your work is. If you want to give someone some advice about how their work can lead to them getting better chances at the opportunities or whatever.
Yeah. Well, my birth name is Shady Patterson. Um, my first name came by way of my family, so that's on
Gotcha.
my birth certificate. Patterson's my maiden name, my father's name, which he is not happy about. Radical right now. It's like, why you have to use that radical? But you know,
Right.
when I got married, we decided to change our name to Radical because
Mhm.
of our beliefs in the Black radical tradition and Black intellectual thought. We
Right.
really believe that we imagine like what would it be like to be aligned with something that you truly believe in, right? I have
Right.
this friend, she's from Syria, and her last name is El Karhili. And when I
Right.
asked her, what is El Karhili? She said, it's a mountain in Syria. And I said, oh, so like when you tell people your name, they know where you're from. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I want a name like that where people know where I'm coming from.
Right.
Just hey, like, this is where
Gotcha.
I'm from. So radical is the mountain, right? And that's
Right.
where my people live
Gotcha.
by that mountain.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, Shady, this has truly been a great conversation. I certainly appreciate everything and appreciate you coming on and learning so much about your organization and being an archivist. And I've learned so much myself. And um, if you have any social media handles, if you can give that out. I'm also going to place that in the description as well in the video, so if you can reach out. Oh, and also if you could talk about your event on September the 24th, and let people know about what you have coming up.
Yes, yes. Social media. So I have one more piece of that puzzle. My
Okay.
mom likes to say that Wendy, my daughter, is the only real radical because she was born a radical. So Wendy
Right.
Oya, you know, parents, right?
Right.
Stink. Yeah, but Wendy Oya Radical, that's her social media, her Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Dr. Shady Radical, Shady.
Hmm.
RADICAL. And the events that's coming up. So the next workshop is actually July 15th, and
Mm-hmm.
that is with Jehoida Calvin, and she does a workshop on legacy management. That's from 10 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. That's again found on the website, or if you go to societyofgeorgiaarchivists.org, you can also find a link there to register. These
Okay.
workshops are $25, but if you consider yourself an artist
Mm-hmm.
or a teacher, you can register for $10.
Gotcha.
We
Okay.
try to make all of this information accessible as widely as possible. My workshop is coming up on September 24th, and that's radical
Okay.
archiving. And I talked a little bit about what that is here, but I really expand on it in 3 hours. I'll talk about what
Gotcha.
radical archiving is, my theory, my practices, and how you can become a radical archivist and do similar work if you're interested.
Okay then. Well, I'm certainly gonna sign up for your event on the 24th or whatever because I want to learn more and sort of kind of preserve the stuff that I have in my families or whatever. And uh, like I said, once again, this has truly been a pleasure. I know you're at work; it's like a workation or whatever. But I certainly appreciate everything, and thank you for participating in this event. And I will be speaking with you later on. And thank you, Shady, Dr. Radical.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All
Thank
right,
you for
have a
having
great one.
me.
You're
You too.
welcome. Bye.